Om Stapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharmasvarupine avatara varishthaya Ramakrishnaya te namaha. Jananim Sharadam Devi Ramakrishnam Jagadguru Padapadme Tayosritva Pranamami Murmuru. Namaste Katirajaya Vivekananda Suri Satchit Sukasvarupaya Swamini Tapaharini. So we'll continue with our discussion, study and discussion of Leela Prasanga, or Sri Ramakrishna, the great master. We are really going through a very, very important chapter, namely Sri Ramakrishna and the first 4 years of sadhana. I think the entire range of realizations which Sri Ramakrishna had, they are largely based on these first 4 years of sadhana. पहले 4 साल उन्होंने जो किया उसकी आधार पर ही बाकी सारा के सारा उनका हो गया था बाद में. Because he kind of got the key for every kind of sadhana afterwards. Actually, the situations were changing, the details were changing, like what all he did for Tantra, what all he did for various Vaishnava, and then दूसरी धर्म की साधना भी उन्होंने जो की है. Naturally, the details were all entirely different. But basically, what he had achieved was something unique and same. That is why probably later on when he said also, Yato mat tato pad, jitni मत है उसके अनुसार अलग अलग पद होता है. As many faiths, so many paths. Probably, this was at the root of all that. क्योंकि उन्होंने पहले 4 साल में जो साधना करके जो समझ लिया था, how to transcend it. Actually, if you talk of any sadhana, ultimately, whatever be the tradition, whether it's Hindu, Jain, Buddhism, Christianity, Islam, different sects of Hinduism, whatever it is. See, at the core, at the essence of all this is the idea of transcending the body and the mind. Going from the level of the phenomenal world to a transcendent world. This is the core of all sadhana. Otherwise, you see, in the this is Hamji also says, books and temples and forms, etc., and rituals are but secondary details. So these are all only secondary details. आप जिसमें इतनी बार मंदिर में जाओ, इतनी बार नमाज पढ़ो, इतनी बार आप जब, whatever it is. But essentially, that's why Thakur, and also in this tradition, it's always said that religion is realization. धर्म अनुभूति की बात है. So naturally, that is why, you could kind of, even amongst the our own various the traditions, how he organized Vedanta and Bhakti. If you look at the Vedanta sadhana of Sri Ramakrishna, it's not exactly the traditional Vedanta where they say neti neti and only that vichar and nothing beyond that. But whereas here, he took all those. Definitely, he had to pass through that phase also, because he had to negate the Divine Mother who was inextricably linked to him. He had to give up that obey unka chodna tha. But then he ended up in the highest kind of Nirvikalpa Samadhi. It's not a word about all this is mentioned ever in Vedanta or in the classical texts of Advaita. So somewhere he has unlocked that secret, the secret to sadhana, secret to realization, whereby you have to go to the transcendental level. Unless you reach there, whatever you may profess, whichever path you may take, it hardly matters. Jit path pe aap chalna chahte ho, chalo. But ultimately, what you have to achieve essentially is a transcendental experience beyond the body and beyond the mind. So then obviously, once you go beyond the body and mind, What is there? What is there ultimately? Nobody can say. That's why when you used to say all paths lead to the same ultimate goal. What is the ultimate goal? Transcending body and mind. Then you experience whatever is there in various ways, in various colors, various shades. बहुत सारे अनुभूति आपके हो सकती है. But essentially, are you going beyond body and mind? So these 4 years of sadhana, the intensity with which he did it, that's something very, very remarkable, very essential, and a lot to be learned from here. Probably even if you read 100 times this portion, we may not really get the real drift of it. But we can try. So that's why he was saying, he was talking about Hatha Yoga, etc. Master in pranayama. It seems, when the consecration of the Dakshina temple had become a widely known, itinerant monks on their way to Gangasagar, the confluence of Ganges in the Bay of Bengal, and the holy shrine of Lord Jagannath, Puri began to halt for a few days at Dakshineshwar and received the generous hospitality of devout Rashmi. उसमें क्या होता था? बहुत रमता साधु. Generally, those days, sadhus means wandering. आप किसी जगह पे 3 दिन के अधिक नहीं रुकते थे. That was generally the tradition those days. So constantly people used to wander, कभी कभी अकेला, कभी दल लेके, you go together, light the dhuni. So they never used to care for what chance might bring, that's all. आपकी जो मिल जाए उसी है. There's nothing, no specification about the food or requirement. Of course, some shakahari थे, they will all take only vegetarian food, but then they never bothered about what chance might bring. Yadricha, labha santushta. Completely depending on the divine, on Madhukari, etc., surviving like that. So they would gather, sit, and then go. So wherever, and they would go from one Tirthakshetra to another. And most of the Tirthakshetras, they always used to feed the southern house. So we're going through, looking where all they can halt. So these they found. Gangasagar was a very famous place of pilgrimage those days. Jagannath Puri, I think forever it is one of the most famous Tirthakshetras. So from here to there, going from Puri Jagannath to Gangasagar, it's a long journey. And they will largely walk. 15 दिन 20 दिन 1 महीने 2 महीने समय की क्या? They have infinite time. Time was never a botheration. It's more difficult to spend time rather because there is so much. So चलो चलते रहो जब तक जाए रुक जाओ then फिर चलो. That was the order. So obviously if there is a good place to stay where they will be taken care of and where they will be fed, there will always be a beeline for such places. Lot of sadhus coming. So this Dakshineshwar मंदिर प्रतिष्ठा की बाद the word had spread. ऐसी एक अच्छी जगह है, आप सब जाके रुक सकते हैं, आपका खाना पीना सब मिलेगा. Maybe they used to have also Bhandara probably once in a way with Pranami, we don't know. Anyway, so they used to come. And some of them, the master said that many used to come. Some of them instructed the master in pranayama and other disciplines of Hatha Yoga. वो भी उन्होंने, he had learned from some of them. That's why whatever he said, he always said on the basis of his realization. उनका जो अनुभूति हुआ था उसके आधार पर ही वो बोलते थे. Because he had practiced, he narrated the following story regarding Haladai. The master himself had practiced the techniques of Hatha Yoga and knew their results. He later told us not to practice them. If anyone asked for advice regarding Hatha Yoga, he would reply, those practices are not meant for Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga के लिए नहीं है. Because it requires tremendous discipline of the body regarding diet, food, this, that. If you are thoda bhi idhar udhar ho jaye, it can result even in death or people become completely mad because they are very tough practices. Something like they will insert cloth from one nostril and take it out through the other. Like there's so many kinds of practices. essentially completely centered on the body, cleaning it, cleaning it, cleaning it, making it. But if one concentrates so much in the body, probably one would die at that level only. That's why if you see the lives of all great sadhakas, most of them had very poor health because they had no time to attend to their bodily needs. किसी वक्त जिंदा रहने के लिए कुछ खाना, that was the niyam. Did Ramkrishna ever care for his body, or did Swamiji care, or did anybody care? They were busy doing intense sadhana. इतनी साधना से इतना बिगड़ गया था तबीयत, could never be brought back. Supposing you suffer a big setback and all that, this engine cannot be repaired like that. If it is gone, means gone. So naturally they never. So there's one more reason why you used to say that if you keep on concentrating the body, he'll become more and more body-minded. The real purpose is to go beyond body and mind. Why should you constantly think of it? Whatever you think of it constantly, that will occupy the center stage in your mind. वो भी आपका मन में घूमता रहेगा हमेशा. If you think of that, when somebody is very fond of food, constantly be thinking only about food. So that's why probably one reason he would reply or not for this age, because Kali mein people are depending on food. Where is the time now to make the body strong by practicing Hatha Yoga and then to call on God through Raja Yoga? If one wants to practice the techniques of Hatha Yoga, should stay constantly with a perfect guru and follow strict rules regarding food and other activities according to the guru's instructions. Even the slightest deviation from these requirements causes serious health problems, and sometimes the aspirant can die, can be that serious. So it is not necessary to practice Hatha Yoga. Moreover, it is for the sake of controlling the mind that one controls the breath by practicing pranayama and kumbhaka. One can have automatic control over the mind and breath through the meditation on God and devotion. So ultimately, what was their idea of this pranayama and kumbhaka, etc.? Everything is related to prana in one sense. All our movements, what is happening, our mind, everything is a great connection. So if you control prana, if you control you yourself, you can easily see. Supposing you sit quietly and watch your breath and kind of regulate your breath. Now, most of us breathe very irregularly. Most of the people on earth, the breath is very irregular. So you need not do any pranayama, kumbhaka or anything. Even if the breath is regulated, you do it regularly day after day, say for 6 months, 9 months or 1 year, you'll find that the mind becoming calmer. Even by regulating breath. So this kumbhak, etc., the main idea was how to control the mind. So Thakur says, why do all that? By meditating on God and by devotion, you can certainly do. See, the idea is to remove all the restlessness of the mind wandering in 100 directions. That's what is aimed to be achieved through pranayama. But if one can be very devotional, singing the names of God, doing japa, trying to meditate, definitely then also the mind can be controlled. So why take that risky route? Rather do it in a more smooth way. In this Kali Yuga, human beings are short-lived and weak. So out of compassion, God made their path for self-realization easy. A person feels anguish and emptiness at the death of a spouse or a child. If one has that kind of longing for God for 24 hours continuously, God will definitely reveal himself. अब स्पष्ट बता रहे, कोई नजदीकी कोई गुजर जाए, मृत्यु हो जाए, how they weep inconsolably, how they feel anguish and emptiness. ये लोग बोलते हैं खत्म है, मेरा तो दुनिया खत्म है, जीवन खत्म है. Of course, again it all come back. दुनिया भी आ जाएगा, जीवन भी आ जाएगा, so everything will come back after some time. But at that moment, it's very terrible, impossible to console. See, if you can feel that kind of anguish for God, even for one day, 24 hours, you realize God exists. So that means all of us are not having that even for 24 hours. That's the logical conclusion. So आपको 5-5 मिनट करके if you add an over 1 year 24 hours वही नहीं होगा, एक ही दिन में होना चाहिए continuously. ऐसे नहीं मैं तो मेरा तो हो गया 24 hours, मैं तो 10 साल से कर रहा हूँ 2-2 मिनट करके. No. We have mentioned elsewhere in this book that some devout present day male aspirants very often practice the disciplines of left handed Tantra while following the code of the Smritis. There's one idea of Tantra called Vamachara. Vam means left, Bayan. This Vamachara, very peculiar, very tantric rituals which involve not so much of a very peculiar kind of practices. These Vaishnava aspirants usually pursue the sadhana of Parakiya Prema, having another person's wife or a mistress as a means of intensifying love for God. ऐसे किसी के प्रति ऐसा प्रेम वही लेके भगवान के साथ प्रेम. I don't know how it happens. As Haladari was devoted to the Vaishnava doctrine, he strictly began to practice Parakiya Prema while he was a priest of the Radha Govinda temple. माँ काली की तो पूजा कर रहा था, उसका लड़का का मृत्यु के बाद, because mother said don't do it, he did not agree, then he lost his son. Then he shifted to Radhakanta temple. But while doing the puja, he was practicing this Parakiya Prema through the love of another person's wife or mistress. You then get this love for God. People began to gossip when they knew of Haladari's practices with women, but they did not dare to say anything openly or to criticize him, lest we should curse them. Many people believe that his curses always took effort. किसी को साप देते तो वो बिल्कुल हो जाता था, इसलिए डर के कोई कुछ नहीं बोला. However, as soon as the master heard these rumors, he went straight to Haladari and told him frankly how people were criticizing him behind his back. आपके पीछे ये हो रहा है, तुम क्या कर रहे हो? तो सीधा बोलने वाले थे. Misunderstanding the master's motives, Haladari flew into rage and at once cried, "You are my cousin and junior. How dare you criticize me? Blood will come out of your mouth." आपके मुंह से खून निकलेगा. छोटा है मेरे से उम्र में, क्या बोल रहे हैं? The master tried to pacify him, saying that only wished to warn him, but Haladari would not listen to him anymore. गुस्सा में बोलते ना श्री कृष्ण in the Sita Prajna Lakshana. Maybe in one retreat we can discuss Sita Prajna Lakshana itself. It says, Ajahat edah kaman sarvan parthamanogotan atmannevatmana tushcha dukkeshu anubudvigna mana sukeshu vigataspra vita raga bhaya krodha. So this krodha, it's a terrible thing. Once you are in that mood, you simply don't care for anything, don't look at anything, go berserk, completely out of control. Then the point is, if it is true, it should be all right, but you regret. There are a few like animals who don't even regret. Animals don't regret. If they go and attack a human being and kill it, does a tiger or a lion or elephant, do they regret? No. So like that, there are a few small percentage of human beings. But majority of the people, when they look back, they feel terrible about it. मैं कैसे किया, क्यों किया मैंने, क्यों किया? Again and again they regret. So that's why it is bad. Because one knows that one has hurt others, one has unnecessarily exceeded the limits. that we have used words which should not have been used. All that come and strike back. We regret very much. That is the negative thing about Krodha. One night, shortly after that incident, the master felt an itching sensation in his palate and blood suddenly began to gush from his mouth. खून निकलने लगा. The master later described the event. The color of that blood was like the dark juice of kidney bean leaves. A little of it fell on the ground. It was so thick that the rest clotted and hung down from my lip like the roots of a banyan tree. I tried to stop the bleeding by pressing a piece of cloth against my palate, but I could not stop it. I was scared. When the news spread, many people ran in and gathered around me. Aladari was then finishing his worship in the temple. He also hurried to me. I said to him, "See, brother, what you have done to me with your curse." Seeing my pitiable condition, he began to weep. बोल तो दिया अभी देख रहे हैं क्या करके बैठा मैंने. So, but of course, in Thakur's life, nothing happened without reason. In fact, everybody's life, in all our lives also, whatever happened, there is a greater cause, greater idea, greater purpose, everything. But ordinary people like us, we never realize. So we keep on suffering or saying it's an enjoyable thing, celebrate and so on. But everything has a meaning even in our lives. बट साधारण लोग पता नहीं होता है क्यों ऐसा हो रहा है. तो पता होने में तो there won't be any dukkha and there won't be too much of sukha also, because we know that the cycle is going to change now. Nobody would do it. Because of ignorance, we celebrate. Because of ignorance, we are so much in sorrow and suffering. But in the case of Sri Ramakrishna, it was not like that. Everything was with a very genuine, definite purpose, and everything unfolded beautifully, and everything could be explained why such a thing happened. Sri Ramakrishna's life also, when somebody had cursed, if Sri Ramakrishna had kind of mentally or inwardly accepted that, that would become true. Because Sri Ramakrishna was embodiment of truth. So Aladari had said something, and Sri Ramakrishna, even in a very minuscule way, in a very small way, if had mentally reconciled to the idea that he had cursed me, that would happen. Because he was embodiment of truth. That's one reason why this happened. Because many people say so many things to us, it doesn't happen. Because we are not established in truth. Even if we say, oh, मैंने को इतना गाली दिया, I accepted the gali, but it doesn't affect me. Because we are not at that level. But if a person is so sensitive, so spiritual, so sattvic, छोटी चीज में इतना प्रभाव फैलता है. It will make a tremendous impact even in a small this thing. Anything is sensitive, if you touch it, it will make a noise. It will show that it's sensitivity. So like that, Ramakrishna's structure was like that. His mind was like that. So extraordinary, so sattvic. So when this aghat, this hurt in the form of curse came from Haladhari, probably he had acceded to it mentally. Oh, mere to saap diya, bas, it got hold. It had to be executed, exhibited. It happened. But then a Vaishnava's, a old monk who had come there, he got the real answer as to why it happened. A wise monk had arrived at the Kali temple. When he heard the uproar that night, he came to see me. He examined the color of my blood and the part of my mouth that it was coming from. कहाँ से आ रहा है, इसका रंग क्या? He said to me, don't be afraid. It is very good that you are bleeding like this. ऐसा कौन बह रहा है, इसको कारण है, क्या है? See, I've been practicing Hatha Yoga. बोला ना, some of the sadhus had come were teaching him pranayama and other Hatha Yoga practices. Again, because he was so good, in no time you could master all that. And there also he had gone like anything intense and very serious. The practice of Hatha Yoga leads ultimately to Jada Samadhi. another name by which Nirvikar Samadhi according to the yoga scriptures. योगा में हठ जड़ समाधि करके एक कुछ है, that is same as nirvikalpa samadhi. It says you are about to attain that state. प्राणायाम वगैरह इतने उन्होंने प्रैक्टिस किया, it done it so perfection, he was about to get into jada samadhi. Your Sushumna channel had been opened, so the blood was flowing into your head. Fortunately, this blood has made a passage for itself through your palate. Otherwise, you would have entered Jada Samadhi and never come back to ordinary consciousness. Such intense flow of blood through Sushumna to the highest place into your head probably that would have led to his giving up the body permanently, because it formed a kind of a channel. So going up to the head, which is coming out from the mouth itself. The Divine Mother must have some special purpose she wants to accomplish through you. So she protected your body in this way. आपके बारे में माँ कुछ सोची होगी, कुछ काम करवाएंगे आपके लिए, इसके कारण से आपका शरीर उन्होंने रक्षा कर दी. When I heard the words of this monk, I was reassured and at peace. Thus, Haladari's curse unexpectedly turned into a blessing. This is how it happens in the case of very extraordinary souls. Whatever it is, it turns into a blessing. It turns blessing in the sense, not in a worldly sense or in a jagatic disha mein nahi hai, adhyatik disha. Something, whatever happens is always for their spiritual uplift, going further forward like that. Haladari had an interesting and stormy relationship with the master. वो अभी तो कुछ बोल रहा है तो एक घंटे के बाद दूसरी बोलता था, फिर पहले वाला बोलता था, हमेशा चलता रहता था. Always is contradictory views. We have already mentioned that Haladari was an elder cousin of the master. It was probably in 1858 that he came to Dakshineshwar and became priest at the Radha Govinda temple. He continued conducting the worship until sometime in 1865. 7 साल उन्होंने करीब करीब रहा. He therefore had an excellent opportunity to watch the master closely during 6 years of his sadhana at Dakshineshwar. Thakur sadhana also is supposed to have more or less commenced in 1858. 64 तक उन्होंने पहला दर्शन तक बहुत कुछ गहराई से उन्होंने किया था. Nonetheless, he could not come to a clear understanding of the master. Haladari himself adhered very strictly to his Brahminical rules. So he disliked it when during ecstasy the master would throw off his wearing cloth and secret thread. जब उन्होंने ऐसे भाव समाधि में चले जाते थे, उच्च अवस्था में चले जाते थे, कपड़ा भी फेंक देते थे, जानी भी फेंकते थे. You throw away secret thread and the cloth, because Ramsha believed that there should not be any kind of a bandhan or bondage. जो भी आप बांधेंगे तो बंधन है, कपड़ा बांधना है, जानी गले में लगाना है. So absolutely, because we cannot cut off the hands and feet and all that. Nothing added to the body, only body itself. Then concentrate and mentally get rid of that also. So Radhari did not like it because he was a traditional Brahmin. He still used to say that people, Haladari would sometimes tell me that it is not proper for Ramakrishna to discard the cloth and sacred thread. A person is born as Brahmin due to the accumulated virtues of many past lives. उस समय का ब्राह्मण जात पे तो कुछ मर्यादा था, ऐसे बहुत ही साधक लोग थे. They were very sattvic people also largely. What sort of exalted status they attain that causes him to do all these strange things? कभी देखा नहीं ना ऐसे कोई अपना सेक्रेटरी भी फेंक देता है, कपड़ा भी फेंक देता है. Where they people normally used to think all these people as mad. You see, the first sign of a little deeper madness is you throw away the clothes. Today, Ramakrishna listens to you. You should therefore keep an eye on him to ensure that he does not behave inappropriately. It's your duty to stop his non-Brahminical behavior, even if you need to tie him up. इसका तो रस्सी से बांध लो. ऐसे कपड़ा वपड़ा उतारने की कोशिश करता है तो you can go even that far. But you must ensure that he does not give up all this. That was Haladari's idea. But when he saw the master performing worship in the temple, Haladari was overwhelmed by his tears of devotion, his exuberant joy when he listened to the glory of God's name, and his extraordinary longing for God realization. जो भी देखते थे ठाकुर का आकृष्ट हो जाते. Nobody could resist that attraction. उसी कोई ऐसा भगवान के सामने, मूर्ति के सामने ऐसे रो रो के प्रार्थना करता. आंसू बह रहे हमेशा. Constantly tears are flowing from his eyes. Can anyone not notice it? साधारण घोर विषय भी दिखता था, वो भी प्रभावित हो गया. But Haladari himself was a sadhak. Although there are a lot of deficiencies in his method, उनकी जो belief था, philosophy था, they were all defective. But yet he was a sadhak. So when he saw Sri Ramakrishna like that, he was deeply impressed. ऐसा कोई हो सकता है क्या? भगवान के लिए इतना रोते हैं. Haladari thought that divine ecstasy was causing his cousin to have these experiences. Such states are not usually seen in ordinary human beings. The joy and the sorrow both. कभी अच्छा भगवान के नाम सुनने में इतना आनंद, फिर ऐसे उनका दर्शन नहीं हो रहा करके ऐसा रोना. दो ही वो सोचा इस सब कारण से तबीयत बिगड़ता है, ऐसे ऐसे सब फेंक देते हैं. He thought all these are all due to his divine ecstasy. Then, he would say Hridaya, tell to Hridaya, Hridaya must have seen some divine presence in Ramakrishna. You would not serve him as faithfully otherwise. तुम इतना क्यों सेवा कर रहे हैं? उनके अंदर तुम जरूर कुछ देखा होगा. ऐसे कोई दिव्यता तुमने देखा जिसकी वजह से तुम करते रहते हो, नहीं तो इतना सेवा करना संभव नहीं है. Haladari's mind was constantly clouded by doubt, so he could not reach any definite conclusion about the true condition of the master. संशय आत्मा विनश्यति बोलते ना, संशय ये ठीक नहीं, अभिजा देख रहा हूं पर. That doesn't mean that we should go indiscriminately without. One has to definitely exercise one's powers of viveka, vichara, etc. But once you analyze and understand, you should stick to that. सुबह शाम बदलते रहने में क्या फायदा है? Many times Haladari would be charmed by my devout worship in the temple. He would say, Ramakrishna, now I know what your real nature. अभी मैं पता कर लिया तुम कौन है. I would tell him jokingly, then don't get mixed up again. फिर ऐसा मत करो दोनों ऐसे उलट पलट हो जाए. Then he would say, you can't deceive me again. The Lord is definitely within you. This time I am quite certain. मैं तो अभी जरूर समझ लिया भगवान तुम्हारे अंदर है, मेरा कोई संदेह नहीं है. All right, I would reply, let me see how long your conviction lasts. कितनी देर तक ये विश्वास रहता है मैं देखूंगा. Then after finishing his temple service, he would take some snuff. नस्सी लेता था, लेके बस बैठ जाता था डिस्कोर्स देने के लिए. Bhagavad Gita, Adhyatma Ramayana, etc. He would then become puffed up with egotism and become quite a different person. इसी भाषण देना, डिस्कोर्स देना कितना मुश्किल देखो. Sometimes I would attend his discourses and I would say to him, I've realized all those spiritual states you've been reading about. I can understand everything that is in the scriptures. सारे बोलते थे, अरे देखो तुम जो पढ़ा रहे, जो बात कर रहे, ये तो मैं सब अनुभव हो गया था, मेरा अनुभूति के अंदर ही है और मेरा कोई संदेह भी नहीं है. शास्त्र में जो तुम बता रहे हैं ना, सब कुछ मैं समझ पा रहा हूँ। क्यों? मेरा जीवन के साथ, अनुभव के साथ मिल रहा है. It's not different. We also often we discuss about the Latin Maharaj incident in Kashi also. See, actually, Shastra क्या है? Shastra essentially based on the experiences of great sadhakas. जिन्होंने साधन किया, उसके अनुसार शास्त्र सब बाद में लिखा होता है. Because what is the origin? Mantradashas, rishis and others, they've all experienced great states. All that is coming. So how they are to be used? When you see great people, when they live great lives, you compare with the scriptures, whether they tally. उसके साथ मिल रहा है कि नहीं? But it is not through it, then that's not correct. So obviously scriptures have a great role to play. तो ठाकुर से मैं शास्त्र में जो लिखा है मैं तो सब अनुभव कर चुका हूँ, because that was clear for him. So he did not read. See, the point is, it is not that he had read these scriptures and from memory saying this. No. पहले बार सुन रहे, first time he is hearing from Haladhari, Bhagavad or Gita or whatever it is. But then clearly he sees that it all tallies with my experience. मेरा जो अनुभव है पूरी तरह मिल रहा है उसी साथ. It is completely tallying with that experience. So he used to say, then he would say that, become frantic with rage and tell me, get out of here, you crazy fool. Are you claiming to be an incarnation of God? तुम क्या ऐसे कोई अवतार हो? सब समझ लिया तुमने? मूर्ख, जाओ यहां से. The scriptures say in Kali Yuga, there is only one avatar, Kalki. Kalki अवतार एक मात्र है और तो दूसरा कोई नहीं है. तुम कहां से आ गया? You must be out of your mind to think such thing. So I would laugh and ask, didn't you tell me you'd never get mixed up about me again? But of course, he wouldn't listen to me when he was in that mood. बोला ना, सब ऐसे कोई मन में आ जाता है ना, सुनने का भी हम लोग तैयार नहीं रहते. See, each is character, how they bring out something very special in stuff. There's a beauty. It's all necessary. Thakur himself says that unless there are jatilas and kutilas, Leela will not become. Pushti nahi hogi wahan. Similarly, because Haladari is there, then our Hridaya is there. All those people, they brought such tremendous कलर वैरायटी, बहुत रंग लेके आया. लोग देखते कि ठाकुर के साथ बहुत मजा आ रहा है, इसलिए. So I would ask, didn't you tell me you would never get mixed up about me again? But of course he would not listen to me. With the same scene over and over. One day he saw me in ecstatic mood, sitting naked in the branch of a banyan tree in the Panchauti and passing water like a boy. From that day, he was thoroughly convinced that I have been possessed by a ghost. कि कोई भूत पकड़ा, इसलिए कपड़ा पड़ा छोड़ के ऐसे ऐसे करता है. उस दिन से बस वो पूरा बिगड़ गया और कुछ नहीं किया उसके बाद. So it continues, some more about that, then we'll take it afterwards. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tatsat. श्री राम कृष्ण अर्पणमस्तु. मेरा कई अनाउंसमेंट्स है. एक तो